As mighty school, even fearless harsh girl. Victoria, oh, Victoria, rise up and claim your rightful place, break free from the chain. Your destiny to take your own faith. So that's why I suffer and places silence, spirits unbroken. Victoria is your destiny to take your own faith. Sorry, be quite sorry. Your destiny to take your own faith. Equatoria, oh, Equatoria, silence now. I shall take charge and show them your bravery and strength. Pave the way. My future starting today. It's up to control. Equatoria, oh, Equatoria, the time is now. Let's up take charge and show them strength. Pave the way for a bright future starting today. Welcome. Today, on the occasion of release of Kalisto Ladu, I would like to open this room to mark this day, and please join us. We would like to say a few words on this particular occasion. That this has been happening to Equatorians, and we want to understand and comment on the implications of this development. It has many faces to it, so we'd like to just really have a chat about it, mark this day, and highlight what is important for us as Equatorians. So please welcome us, join us in this room. We'll be starting shortly, but let me, in the meantime, just play this music. As mighty even sparks grow. Victoria, oh, Victoria, rise up and claim your rightful place, break free from the chain. Equatoria, take charge, take destiny into your own hands. Starting today, we have on this particular occasion an important event that will be remembered. That today, Kalisto Ladu has been released from the detention in the National Security Service. This has come after a long hold that he was incarcerated back in March this year, and has spent the last 3 or 4 months in detention at the National Security Service premises in Juba. So today, as we have come to learn, that Kalisto Ladu has been released. This has come about as a result of pressure from Equatorians, from the South Sudanese in general, and also from members of the international community who highlighted the plight of Mr. Kalisto Ladu. And of course, his case was also highlighted by Amnesty International. So all of these pressures, all of these, um, you know, pressure points applied by different organizations locally and regionally, internationally, have paid off. We also understand that the lawyer who was representing Kalisto and his family and presented, opened a case, a legal suit in the East African Court, um, has added and piled on the pressure on the regime. But one particularly important issue here is that this has been going on not only against an individual like Kalisto, but we have lost young, promising South Sudanese who, uh, at one point or another, stood up to the excesses and tyranny of self regimes in Juba. We all recall Agri Jaden, an Equatorian who perished at the hands of the National Security Service, together with his colleague Samuel Doe. Uh, they were kidnapped from Nairobi, taken to Juba, incarcerated in the National Security Service premises, and then ultimately lost their lives at the hands of the National Security Service. So the National Security Service has been operating outside of the rule of law. It has powers to arrest without due process, and that's what happened to Kalisto. Now he has been released without charges laid against him or raised against him. He was kidnapped by the National Security Service, who initially denied that they acted to arrest and detain Kalisto Ladu, but then later on it all emerged to all and sundry that the national security was always behind all of these kidnappings. And they are also the arm of the unknown gunman, those who kill people with impunity in Juba, and they are never held to account. So, on this day of Kalisto Ladu's release, we would like to invite um, our listeners and those members of our community and members of the South Sudanese community at large who abhor the actions of the National Security Service and the powers vested by Salva Kiir in this national security to operate outside of the rule of law and to kill, to arrest, and to detain without due process and without being held accountable. I would like to invite you all to this room here today to share your thoughts and, more importantly, for our colleagues and members of the Equatorial community, would like to extend our invitation to all of you to join us here in this room, and let's reflect upon this important development that Kalisto Ladu has been released. Because there were rumors in the last 2 days that Kalisto Ladu met his fate, that he died at the hands of the National Security Service. But of course, there were also, um, you know, there were refutation of this because there was no evidence produced as to whether Kalisto was dead or alive. But thank God, Kalisto Ladu is alive and he has been released here today. So I would like also to take stock of all of these developments, which, have been right in the public eye from the time when Kalisto Ladu was detained back in March 2024. So while we gather and assemble ourselves here in this room, just to exchange thoughts, ideas, and to comment on the release of Kalisto, I would like once more to refresh your minds with a new song, which speaks to Equatoria's issues. It speaks to Equatoria's aspirations, the people of Equatoria's aspirations. And I would like you just to think and reflect upon the message of this song. So I'll play it now. The Nile's mighty flow, where the brave and fearless hearts grow. Equatoria, oh Equatoria, rise aloft and claim your rightful place, break free from the chain. Victoria, release yourself from the chains. Free yourself from the chains. Create your own faith. Free yourself from oppression. Your people have suffered. Kalisto suffered under the hands of the National Security Service. Take charge of your destiny. Free yourself from oppression, Equatorial. Free yourself from oppression. Take charge of your destiny. Take charge of your destiny. Free yourself from oppression, Equatorial. The time is now. Rise up, take charge of your destiny. Pave the way for the brighter future. Your future will never die. Future will never die. Take control, Equatorial. Rise up, take control. The time is now. Take charge of your destiny, Equatoria. Rise today, rise up today, and take charge of your destiny to create a better future for yourself and for future generations of Equatoria. On this occasion, I think it's only befitting that we should be celebrating and marking the release of Kalisto Ladu from the infamous National Security Service, who have held him against his will and without due legal process. They have hijacked him from his home and taken him into detention without due legal process. And our people suffer. Equatorians suffer in silence. But there has got to be a spirit that can not be broken by all of this intimidation by the National Security Service. And here today, the spirit of our brother Kalisto Ladu has come to show itself as being resilient, and the spirit of Equatoria is not broken. The spirit of Equatoria in Kalisto Ladu is not broken. And no matter how they try to break the spirit of Equatoria, it will never be broken. The will and the spirit of the people of Equatoria will never be broken. And here is the message. Equatoria, rise up today. Take control of your destiny. Take charge so that you create a better future for your posterity and show the whole world your bravery and how you would do that to create a better future for Equatoria. Take charge, take control of your destiny starting today. Never let yourselves down. Your spirit will never be broken. Equatoria's spirit will never be broken. So this is the message. Our people are resilient, no matter how long it takes. Our people will rise up against any injustice any commission of atrocities against their people, like we have seen over the last year or two, the massacres in Kajukeji, in Lokeliri, in Lobono, in Agoro, in Eastern Equatoria, in Mangala, and all of these places of Equatoria, in Jebel Ladu. These are all attempts to break the spirit of Equatoria. These are all attempts to put us down. And the regime of Salva Kiir is facilitating all this. And then without shame, he turns around and organizes Kiir's endorsement rally in Juba, asking Equatorians to come and endorse him as their flag bearer. Oh, come on, Equatoria. We cannot be massacred. We cannot be killed. And voices of our people like Kalisto Ladu, who spoke for truth and defended the rights of his people. But the regime doesn't want that. They don't want our people to speak up. They want us to unlearn being Equatorians. They want us to be the Oye SPLMs, those who cry and shout Oye, Oye, and forget about their history, forget about the resilience of their ancestors. And in this latter day, they just want the Equatorians to follow the lead of Salva Kiir, the most incompetent ever president to be sat on the people of South Sudan, incapable of providing leadership to the country, incapable of transforming our country to a democratic state. Instead, he turned it around to a vicious tribal bigot state, full of bigotry, full of tribal hegemony, and so on. And he wants to continue to rule on as the president so that he could continue to gag people, ban freedom of expression in Equatoria, detain the sons and daughters of Equatoria and send them into incarceration by the National Security Service without accountability and with impunity. They want us to unlearn being Equatorian. They want our spirits to be broken. But today, no. Kalisto has come out of that incarceration. This is only a small step. But the key thing is for Equatorians to rise up, to unlearn being SPLM, to unlearn being followers of Salva Kiir, to unlearn being South Sudanese, who are being oppressed left and right, who do not have a sense of direction, who simply tolerate this regime. That is South Sudan. They tolerate this Salva Kiir's regime, they tolerate authoritarianism, they tolerate the National Security Service operating outside of the rule of law, and they tolerate people being picked up and incarcerated in the national security premises without accountability, without due legal process. That is what South Sudan is. But that's not Equatoria. Equatoria can never be broken. The spirit of the people of Equatoria will never be broken. They have resisted oppressive regimes of the Arabs and the colonialists before that. They have stood for what's right and for justice. And they rose up in 1955, August 18th, in Turin. That is the track record. That's the history of the people of Equatoria. They are not going to be broken down today. The spirit of Kalisto is not broken, but he paid the ultimate sacrifice to be incarcerated in that so-called National Security Service. And you can imagine all that it brings is oppressive system to our country, to our people, to Equatoria. That is what the National Security Service is doing at the behest of Salva Kiir, to keep us all down, to shut us all down. And so that his impunity, his incompetence continues on. But Equatoria is not going to be broken by that. Equatoria will rise up. Equatoria will stand up to dictatorship, to authoritarianism of Salva Kiir, and to his institutions. These dysfunctional institutions that are there to serve and steal and public resources, and point again at the heads of everyone in the country who is speaking up. When Kalisto spoke up, they were rattled, they were confused, and they were simply, exposed to be intolerant, incompetent, and cannot handle criticism by anyone or anybody. That's the true color. That's the real. That's the real, fear from people who's just speaking out. Like Kalisto, when Kalisto spoke, they panicked, and all they could resort to was to detain him, silence him, and put him away in the National Security Service, incarcerated him there for 3 to 4 months or more now, just because they're afraid of what the implications of what Kalisto was saying could mobilize our people and actually turn things around. So they're afraid, they're fearful, they don't want anyone to speak. And when you speak out and you are not saying SPLM Oye, they panic. They start to use repressive tools to their tool, like the National Security Service, the repressive tool, Kiir's repressive tool, operating at his behest to silence people, to threaten them, and to kill with impunity. We haven't held them accountable yet for the lives of Agri, for the lives of Samuel Doe. But the time will come that all those who are incarcerated or were incarcerated in the National Security Service, excuse me, there will be a day to account for their injustice done on them, to account for the injustice committed against our people, the rights of our people. So, brothers and sisters, we just wanted to mark this day of Kalisto Ladu's release from detention, and to send a message, a very clear message, that no matter how much oppressive the system is, no matter the tools in their hands to oppress our people, no matter the guns you point at them, no matter the money that you steal from the public in order to maintain yourselves in power, this will all come to an end. Equatoria will rise. Equatoria will take charge. And Equatoria will have its own future and destiny determined by them, not by Salva Kiir or his National Security Service. So, my brothers and sisters, we are marking this day, and it is also a day to reawaken our conscience that people who are detained, who go into incarceration, and who suffer as a result, the amount of time and suffering and all the abuse that has gone on over the last 3 to 4 months, in which the family of Kalisto suffered waiting in silence while Kalisto was going through the motions within the national security infamous premises. We don't know what went through his mind all this time that he has been incarcerated in the National Security Service. But the time will come, he will tell us what he has gone through, and we should learn from it. Never in the future we will not let these institutions to continue to operate in our country. They would have to relocate somewhere else and have their own state. But Equatoria will rise. Equatoria will stand up to oppression. Equatoria will rise and shape its own destiny. This is a message that we want to share. And I would also like to remind Equatorians that Kalisto has paid price. He suffered for many months. And so just for speaking up. And that is a price that we have to pay. Like what Kalisto has done, he has paid the price being incarcerated in the National Security Service, that infamous National Security Service, and he endured, and his family endured for all of the last 4 months and more. So that just teaches us what we need to and should do in order to avoid having a system ruling over us that can abuse our human rights, our people's rights, the way the National Security Service has gone about it, the way Salva Kiir has gone about it. You all remember how many massacres took place under Salva Kiir watch in Juba, and how many people have been incarcerated in the National Security Service. Is this a system that we want to be on us, ruling over us? So I think we still have some work to do ourselves as Equatorians. Sorry, I'm being interrupted by a call, but let me just play this music first, and then I'll come back. Yeah, sorry about the interruption. I had a call, and it's just difficult to stop a call when you are, in Clubhouse. It's just very inconvenient, but of course, people don't know that you are talking, and they still make calls. So never mind about that. So yes, like I said, we really just wanted to mark this important day of Kalisto Ladu's release from detention. And I would like to think of this as a reminder of the price that Kalisto paid to be in prison, to be in detention, to endure all that he has gone through in the name of speaking up for his rights, for the rights of his people. This just applies to all of us, that unless we speak up, unless we endure the pain, the burden of speaking up for what's right, there will not be a change in South Sudan. This regime is fearful of opinions of individuals like you and me, like Kalisto. They are afraid and fearful of the people expressing themselves. And that's why they use the gun to point the gun at everybody who wants to speak for what's right. And they use the national security as a tool in their hands to force people into silence. They have silenced Kalisto Ladu for a few months, but that's not going to succeed. There will be many, many other Kalistos that come up if they continue to silence Kalisto. But the message from this is that Equatorians, we should be ready to pay the price. We should endure the burden and the sacrifices that need to be made in order for us to free ourselves. And our message is that Equatoria should rise up and Equatoria should determine its own future and fate. This is the simple message that we need to use the occasion of the release of Kalisto Ladu to remind Equatorians of what needs to be done. This regime is still there. It's not gone away. It's still there. And so we need to rise up against this regime and pull our socks together. You see, we, for all intents and purposes, I think all the people of South Sudan do not want to live under an oppressive system, a repressive system that points guns at them at any opportunity that they want to speak up. And I think the vast majority of the people of South Sudan supported what Kalisto expressed. If you're saving your people and you want to protect their rights, no, the whole world will not listen to it until you speak. If you keep it in yourself, then nobody's going to know. And our people are not able to speak. They don't have access to the media. They are not being interviewed by South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation, for example. Even the media in Juba is not able to give the microphone to our people to speak and express themselves on the oppressive system that is, presiding over them. And when someone like Kalisto, who was an official, a public official, in the role of a mayor, and a position that affords him being in contact with the population, with the people, with every man and woman in Juba, right? And when he speaks with authority of his knowledge about what the situation is regarding the land issues and the attempt to, by many people in the government of Salva Kiir, including the army, the generals, and so on, they just want to operate and behave with impunity. They have been operating with impunity for the longest time, since 2005 until today. And they have failed to take the country anywhere at all. They've just, made the country become a collapsed state. The economy is in tatters. The state has failed. So these are the results of Salva Kiir's leadership, the National Security Service leadership, and all those that surround Salva Kiir, his army, his police. This is the state that we have, a failed state in our hands. And it has become an imposition on the will of the people. So we have an obligation to rise up against this system and free ourselves. And our message is to the people of Upper Nile, people of Bahr Ghazal, if you feel that you're being oppressed by this regime, do something about it. Do something. Simply, free yourself from this regime. Rise up and free yourself from this regime. For us in Equatoria, the message is clear. We have seen the victims, those victims who have fallen to this regime, like people like Kalisto, who suffered. There's a number of many other Equatorians who suffered under the regime of Salva Kiir. The list goes on. So we have seen, like I said earlier, Agri, Idri, was kidnapped and brought to Juba and died in with impunity, and there's no accountability for his life. Some, although his colleague was also kidnapped with him and brought to Juba and suffered the same fate. And there are many, many others. Peter Abdurrahman Soleh met his fate under this regime, and many others. So this is not a regime that we freely elected. It's not the regime that we elected. We have not elected this regime into power. They have simply just, moved, cushioned themselves in power and covered themselves with transitions, and that's why they're still around. But we're not going to be able to free ourselves if we stand on the wall. We're just like watching and not doing something about it. For us, Equatorians in particular, we have a history. We have an inspiration to stand against oppressive systems, to stand against those who want to put our people down. So we really need to act. We unite ourselves as Equatorians, and we can remove this regime, even by peaceful means. If more and more people speak up like Kalisto, that would be a statement about Equatorians rejecting this regime. They don't want to be under a Jeng regime, Jeng Council of Elders regime. People who operate with impunity, they have been in power for all of these years and never really made any difference. So if there is 1, 2, 3, or 5 or 6 Kalistos speaking up, the world will know. Kiir will know that he's not accepted in Equatoria. Let him pack and go away. He's a failure. But we have got to make that a statement ourselves as Equatorians. We have to rise up and defend our rights and demand our rights and do it publicly, because we want to live in a state that preserves and protects our rights. We don't want to live in a state that does not protect our rights, the rights of our people. South Sudan is a state that has failed to protect the rights of everyone in South Sudan. The human rights, the people's rights, freedom of expression. There's no political and civic space in South Sudan for people to express themselves. This is not what we are used to as Equatorians. And so the regime is trying to make us unlearn being Equatorians, become SPLMEA members or something. That's what they want. That's what they wish. It's a failed system. Corrupt leaders never bring about change. They just want to maintain themselves in power. And we've seen all of this time. Salva Kiir has been and remains in power today, not because he's elected, not because we like him. But the reality is that he's a dictator and he's forcing his agenda on us. So all of us in Equatoria should then know we are Equatorians. We do not tolerate this behavior. We don't tolerate this oppressive system. We don't tolerate impunity, corruption, and all of this. We don't tolerate it. It's in our nature. So if we have to pay the price of fighting for our freedom, so be it. Let's act together. And I'm sure if we Equatorians stand together with one voice as the people of Equatoria, then the message will be very clear. The people of Equatoria do not tolerate this. We would not tolerate any Equatorians being oppressed by this system. We would not tolerate any Equatorian being deprived of expressing their view under the system that we live in. We will not tolerate anyone, whether be it the National Security Service, be it the army, the militia, the Jeng militia, We will not tolerate them just using the name of South Sudan and the state and the resources of the state to oppress our people. We've had enough. From 2005 until today, we've had enough. We've got to sit down and just agree to disagree. That this is one system that is oppressive, that wants to continue in the name of South Sudan. No, we are not accepting that. We Equatorians were pulling out of that. We want to create our own state, a state that is a negation of the Jing state, of South Sudan state, that represents the wishes and aspirations of the people of Equatoria, where we can maintain our freedoms, where our people can be free, enjoy their liberties, enjoy all of their rights. And that's what we stand for. And like I said earlier, it's time for us Equatorians to rise up, and rise up today. We rise up against this system, and we take charge and control of our own destiny. That's the way forward. So let's celebrate Kalisto's bravery, endurance, sacrifice, and for speaking up. That is the spirit of Equatoria. That is the spirit of Equatoria. He did not have a gun in his hands, but he only used his words. And his words made Salva Kiir to panic, made the National Security Service to panic, just simply because he spoke the truth, right? He spoke the truth, and the whole system just panicked. And that's just one Equatorian. One Equatorian speaking in Juba in front of the system without fear, evoking the spirit of Equatoria. And look what happened to the system. It panicked. They had to send a convoy of national security operatives to come and hijack and, Kalisto Ladu from his home and take him into incarceration for the last 3 to 4 months, right? Just one person talking, and the whole system is in panic, in survival mode. And their survival is to intimidate, to kill, to incarcerate people, because they don't have anything else. They can't argue. They don't follow the rule of law. You ask them, you say, have you gone through a legal process? They don't know. They don't understand what a legal process is, what the due process is. And yet they are sat on the state. They are the ones running the state affairs. So can you imagine? These are, I don't know, these are people who want to take us to the old ages, right? They are incapable of ruling anything. They are incapable of ruling the country. They have already run the country down anyway. The economy is in tatters. People are not paid salaries for how many months now? You see? So where are we going? Where are we headed with this kind of system? They just don't know how to run a state. So should we be waiting and holding ourselves hostage to this while these people learn how to run a state? فضيحة عليكم يا الاسطوائيين. ما ممكن يعني، ما ممكن. You allow yourself to be run by this kind of failed, ignorant, tribal regime in Juba. مش معقول. ديل ما بيعرفوا حاجة. بيعرفوا بس سلاح يقتلوا في الناس وكده، ما عندهم أي حاجة. ما عندهم برنامج بتاع التغيير. سلفا كير هيعمل تغيير بتاع شنو يعني؟ ما حيجيب أي تغيير. And those who are around him, whether economic ministers in the economy ولا كان في البرلمان ولا وين، دول كلها كلام فارغ سهل. These are all appearances to appear as if you are running a state. But there is no state in South Sudan. There is no state. The state has long gone away, disappeared. What we have is a cartel, a criminal cartel running the affairs of the country without the mandate of our people. For how long should we tolerate that? We shouldn't. The government is meant there to protect our rights, to protect the rights of our people, to pay them their dues, to provide justice, to dispense justice to the whole country, to the citizens of the country. But none of that is happening. None of that is taking place. طيب الطرطور ده سلفاكير ده هو الفايده بتاعته شنو؟ يعني عاوزين نجيب طرطور عشان يحكمنا؟ يا اخي حرام عليكم يا استوائيين، حرام عليكم. نتوحد، نجيب في صف واحد، نتكلم بصوت واحد. احنا ما عاوزين طرطور ده. طرطور ده ما ممكن يحكمنا. يحكمنا كيف يا اخي؟ زول بليد جاي من مراه ما بيعرف اي حاجه، يخلوه يقعد يتصرف في الامور بتاعت البلد بهذا الشكل، يدخل ناس كاليستو في سجن زي ما عاوزه وكده، يقتلوا ناس اجري والجماعه ديل، ناس سومول دون وكده. وده احنا بنقول انه ده في دوله بتاع شنو في جنوب السودان؟ ده حراميه كله. الاس بي ال ام كله حراميه. جايين من وين؟ جايين من غابه وبعقليه بتاعت غابه، ولسه عاوزين يعني عاوزين يديروا جنوب السودان كانوا قاعدين يديروا اس بي ال اي. ده كلام شنو ده؟ الله يلعنه، يلعن سلفا كير والفاميلي بتاعته كله، يلعن المقربين في الحكومه ده كلها بالفاميليز بتاعته. because this is unbecoming. كله ما صح. وقال عندنا النظام في جنوب السودان باسم شنو بتاع جنوب السودان؟ جنوب السودان ما موجود. South Sudan does not exist. عندنا الطراطير بس، قالوا هم الحكام، قالوا president minister ومش أدراك وكده، ده كله طراطير ساي. people who don't have conscience, who don't know what's wrong and what's right. They're just there to, you know, يشبهوا their personal ambitions وكده، ما أكتر من كده. So anyway, let me play this. Sorry, just a minute. As mighty flow, where the brave and fearless hearts grow. Equatoria, oh Equatoria, rise along and claim your rightful place, break free from the chains. Equatoria, strong, courage and bravery, sons of your destiny, don't hesitate. Your own faith. Create your own faith, Equatorial. Don't hesitate. Your people have suffered. Their voices silenced, but spirits unbroken. The spirits unbroken. Kalisto's spirit is not broken. Kalisto's spirit is not broken. Free yourself from oppression, Equatorial. Brighter future is what we struggle starting today. Do not hesitate, Equatoria, do not hesitate. Take charge, take control, take your own fate into your hands, create your own fate. Those are the messages that we want to share today as Brother Kalisto Ladu is out of the incarceration. Welcome, Margaret Akulia. I just started the room to see what it feels like and what's going through our minds on this day. As I learned earlier that Kalisto Ladu was released after a huge pressure that has piled on for the last many months. So welcome.
How's mighty flow where the brave and fearless hearts grow? Equatoria, oh, Equatoria, rise up and claim your rightful place, break free from the chain.
Welcome, Akulia. Welcome, Margaret. I'll give you a chance to have a few words to say, and then I will resume playing our music. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hakim. I want to start off by greeting everyone, our listeners here and later on YouTube. This is going to be a record, so you can listen in. Other people can listen in. I know that today there's a lot of rooms that are dedicated to this very topic of the release of Kalisto Ladu. So I'm here to just add my voice on behalf of myself and others who have been very, very concerned about the things that are going on in that territory called South Sudan. It's a very lawless territory right now. I really want to start off by appreciating Kalisto for being so brave and putting his neck on the line on behalf of everyone. I believe Kalisto was really talking about on behalf of all South Sudanese. We all know that Kalisto was part of that SPLA, and he tried to do his best as a mayor, as part of the administration, until they booted him out, for reasons that were not very clear and without due process. I also want to thank Kalisto's family for sharing him with us. And I want to thank all the advocates and activists who have spoken very, very loudly about the wrongs that were committed against Kalisto. And really, it's not even just Kalisto that these wrongs are being committed against. He just represents a very criminal system, a very broken lawless system, a failed state. He was simply speaking on behalf of his constituents and all South Sudanese. I believe that, simply because he served in that government. So I want to say thank you to you, Kalisto, and your family. And I'm really sorry about the suffering, the lawlessness that has subjected you to some harm. So your suffering is not going to be in vain. So we have reached a crossroads now in that lawless state. Something needs to happen. And I've said before that Kalisto is actually a very moderate voice. And the so-called government, and I refuse to refer to it as a government, has actually lost. They have lost an ally in Kalisto, because I believe he was willing to work with the government to progress, just to make sure that that territory becomes law-abiding, and it becomes what everyone hoped for. When they supported the SPLA, the lawless cartel, and I call them a lawless cartel. They are a lawless cartel, and no one, they are not even willing for anyone to come forward and give them constructive criticism. If you're a leader, you're going to be open to constructive criticism, even if you do not agree, even if it's a very difficult conversation and it's something that's really difficult to hear, you will be open to that. So there's really no government there. It's just a criminal cartel, and they kidnap people. That was not an arrest. They keep saying Kalisto was arrested. No, he was not. He was kidnapped. Because there's no government, there's no law, and people are just operating within some kangaroo legal system. So people need to stop referring to that so-called government, which is a lawless cartel. They need to stop referring to it as a government. Because when you refer to a lawless cartel as a government, you give it oxygen. You actually prolong it, you give it life. And we need to stop referring to it as a government and look at them as what they really are. A bunch of lawless thugs who are armed to the teeth, terrorizing people, kidnapping people, and they don't want anyone to give them constructive criticism even. Because I consider what Kalisto said, what led to his so-called arrest, which is really kidnapping, is constructive criticism. He was simply voicing things that people are already thinking, but they have been suppressed, and nobody wants to give them a chance to speak up and tell the so-called government what's wrong. So if you're not willing to hear what is wrong, you can't correct anything. So the kidnappings, they call them arrests, and they are really not. Kidnappings by thugs, and criminals. And it's being presided over by a so-called president, because I know I'm submitting fully that he was fully aware, of whatever happened to Kalisto. He was also part of it. So it's all part of the silencing people and refusing to hear what anybody is thinking. So what I'm here to say is that they are more Kalistos. Like I said, Kalisto is a very moderate voice, actually. There's a lot more Kalistos, and you cannot silence them. You will not. In fact, they are not as vocal as Kalisto, or us who are talking right now. So I would rather hear somebody say something out loud than keep quiet, and then you would not even know what hit you. So what I'm saying is that this so-called government and the kidnappers should appreciate people like Kalisto who actually verbalize what is going on in people's minds. So if you silence these voices, you are not going to know. You will not know what people are thinking, and you will not even correct yourselves. And your impunity is just it's unacceptable. People are not accepting your impunity, but there's no way of voicing that because you stop people, you kidnap people, and silence them and torture them. So the system is completely broken right now. The trust, there's absolutely no trust, completely no trust. And when the trust is broken, there's no relationship. No matter what you do, you cannot have a relationship with a broken trust. So what the so-called government, that criminal cartel, did to Kalisto broke the trust. It was the last straw. And they've released Kalisto, and if they're expecting to be patted in the back, it will not come from us, it will not come from me. It will not come from the Equatorial People's Alliance if you are expecting to be patted in the back. Because you cannot pat a criminal who kidnaps and they say thank you to the person who releases them. You can't. All you need to do is to charge them. And it's going to come. It's going to come. Nobody's going to get away with this criminality. No one is going to get away with the criminalities that has gone down in that territory called South Sudan. If you're a criminal, you will be held to account at some point. And there's an end to everything. This too is going to come to an end. And if you read history, you will know that these sorts of criminal behaviors do not continue forever. They come to an end. So basically what people, the so-called government has done is they've actually short-changed themselves. They have now shut down an avenue of communication. So what people are going to do is to keep quiet. They will not even convey what they are thinking. It will come out of nowhere and it's going to hit you from nowhere. You won't even know what hit you because you do not want people to give you constructive criticism. You don't want people to speak out and tell you what's wrong, what they need from you. You are responsible for the disintegration of that territory called South Sudan because there's no trust, there's no relationship. You cannot live together when you don't have trust. Okay, so you just have to wait and wait and see what will happen now because you do not want people to say out loud what they're thinking. I would rather somebody actually tells me what is wrong so that I can correct it. But what people like Kalisto, when they speak out, you silence them instead. You kidnap them and you brutalize them, and it's absolutely wrong. No one will get away with criminality. No one will get away with what they did to Kalisto and everybody else. Many of the ones who did not survive. Nobody is going to get away with that. No one does anywhere. Right now, it looks like you're invincible and you're going to get away with it, but nobody ever gets away with these sorts of things. You can take that to the bank. So now there are going to be no more moderate voices. You have lost all allies. The only people that are going to work with you are yes people. But that too is going to come to an end. And there's no more standing on the fence. There's no more standing on the fence. It's a declaration of war against Equatoria. You've declared war. It's been going on for so long. You cannot be silencing voices like that. You can't silence voices like Kalisto's and other people. You simply can't without consequences. Like Dr. Akim says, It doesn't even have to be a violent revolution. We are not going to talk about it here, but it's going to come because there's no country, it is completely disintegrated. No amount of so-called reconciliation is going to do it. You cannot reach out and say, let's reconcile, let's truth and reconciliation. It will not happen as long as there's a lot of families whose family members have been brutalized and murdered. It's like rewarding murder, rewarding criminals, rewarding rape, rewarding robbers. That's not going to happen. So really what I want to do here is to register my voice and to add my voice to all the other voices that are now ongoing, that are speaking up about the injustice that has been meted on Kalisto. And in summary, I just want to say you have lost an ally. You have. Kalisto was an ally and you've lost an ally. So you're going to have to deal with the consequences now. So I'm going to end here for now and maybe I'll come back later. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Akulia. Thank you, Akulia. I appreciate your message. Welcome, Daniel. I see Daniel is in the room, so I'm sending you an invite to come up here. And anyone who would like also to come, please, you're welcome. Like you said, Akulia, this is we're at the crossroads. We're not going to be tolerating this state anymore. We have never even tolerated it, but I think what we need to do is to intensify the challenge to this oppressive system. This is making us to unlearn being Equatorians, and so we cannot compromise. We cannot continue to live in a failed state. So we really have to do something about all of this. And our message goes to Equatoria in particular, that, let's rise up. There's a message here that I've shared earlier that, we Equatorians have to create our own fate. We have to rise and change and remove the system from our backs. So that's what we want to do. In the meantime, please, if anyone in the room would like to come up, you're welcome. Let me make Akole a moderator. And anybody else who would like to come, please just feel free to join us here and have your say. Yeah. Meanwhile, I think I need to recount and replay this message. It's very important, and we're playing it for the first time here. So you're lucky to be the first to listen to this message. This message is gonna be going into our many, Equatorian forums for them to listen, and it is very timely that we have the release of Kalisto today, and so in fact we had wanted to play this message since last week, but Providence had it this way.
just why people have suffered. Their voice is silence, but spirits unbroken. Equatoria, oh Equatoria, your time has awoken. Equatoria, courage and bravery can be change of your destiny. Don't hesitate, flee pressure to face. Sunshine's light. It's up to control. Of your destiny, don't hesitate, please. On pressure, your face. Time is now. Take charge and show them how. Your bravery and strength will pave the way for a brighter future starting today. It's your it's up to control. The time is now. Rise up, take charge, and show them how. Your bravery and strength will pave the way for a bright future starting today.
Your bravery and strength will open the way for a better future for Equatoria. Our bravery as Equatorians, our strength will pave the way for the future of Equatoria, for a better future, not a failed state, but a better future for our future generations. And starting now, starting today, that's the message. Take your own destiny, take your destiny into your hands. Is that, is the message wrong? I mean, is it not saying the right things to us as Ecuadorians? It's simply saying we cannot tolerate this oppression. Don't accept it. Don't accept to be put down by this system. And this is a failed state. We don't want to be part of a failed state. Simple as that. We want to be free. We want to enjoy our liberties. We don't have time to wait. The time is now. We have to rise up. We have to take charge of our destiny as Equatoria. We have to be proud of being Equatorians. We have to be courageous to pave the way for a better day, a better future for Equatoria. So I love this song, and I hope you do share my love for this song. It's important. It's reminding us of what is ahead of us, the sacrifices, the endurance, and all the burden that we need to undertake as Equatorians to free ourselves from oppression, right? So unless we just want to sit, on the fence, our people suffer, you lose your home, you lose your ancestral land, and you become stateless. You're already stateless because you don't have a state. South Sudan is not for you. South Sudan is not protecting and preserving your rights. Look what they have done to Kalisto. That is South Sudan. Is that where we want to be? Of course not. For us in APA, no, we can't be there. We can't be in this South Sudan. We have to be in a free Equatoria. We have to free ourselves from oppression. And so we can see Kalisto, like I said earlier, Kalisto rose up. He could not contain his anger, his frustration, his disappointment. You just have to speak up and speak the truth. And the system went into panic mode. The whole system panicked. That's why they rushed to the National Security Service to send their infamous operatives to come and detain Kalisto, incarcerate him, just because he spoke. How about if we, all of us, Equatorians, we spoke the same way that Kalisto spoke, right? So the system will not just panic, they will collapse. They will pack their things and start to go and look for morale, for corral somewhere to go back to their loacs and go and run a government there, a loac government. But the whole of Equatoria is run as a loac government, according to the, whims of one, individual, Kiir and his family, right? No one is holding him accountable. Is that what we Equatorians need to support and say we're here to? Of course not. EPA does not support that. We want Equatoria to rise up. Equatoria is confident. Equatoria can stand up to oppression like we did in Torit in 1955. And we'll do it today again. So let's rise up, Equatoria. Let's stand up to this oppression. And let's create our own future. Let's create our own destiny. So that's really the message we want to share with you, all of you Equatorians. And I hope you will share this message beyond this room. That's how we should normally act. And remember the endurance and sacrifices for people who have fallen victim to an oppressive system. Because we don't want to forget it. We don't want to forget those who suffered at the hands of this oppressive system. And I think that way we can then build a consensus around what is the alternative. And South Sudan is not the alternative. But Equatoria is the alternative for us. Because we want to live free as a sovereign people, right? We are sovereign. We were sovereign, before even South Sudan came into existence. We lived as sovereign entities. We lived in our own homelands. We were not governed by Salva Kiir at that time, right? So why should we be governed by Salva Kiir now? Yeah. So welcome everybody in the room. If anyone would like to join us here and share their thoughts, you will be most welcome. We really want you to come up as well and say a few words on this occasion. This is a day for us Equatorians, is it not? It's a day for us. So why should we not? Why should we not enjoy this day and mark this day? Welcome, Zandawiya. Just saw you. So we've just been here in this room to mark this day of release of Kalisto Ladu. And he has paid his dues. He has made, he has made his contribution on behalf of all of Equatoria. He went and suffered incarceration of this infamous National Security Service for speaking up for the rights of our people. And we want more to speak like Kalisto. And this system will just panic. They will panic and run away. With more and more Kalistos to speak, the system will run away because they will just, run out of options. They can come out with their guns, shoot. They can come out with their operatives. Want to put people in the infamous National Security Service detention center, and they will run out of space as well. So we've just been playing a song here. I don't know if you heard it, Zandawir. It's just timely to play this song, which speaks to our issues as Equatorians. That rise up, Equatoria, rise up today. Make your own destiny and pave the way for the future of Equatoria. We want to be free, we want to be sovereign. So that is the message of the song, and I hope the message will spread like fire in diaspora, back home, and everywhere, so that we organize ourselves. I think what we lack is really to organize ourselves better, more effectively. That's the burden, so that we can do one thing together. And when we do it together, it will have the impact that we want. So welcome, Zandawia. You can have the mic to greet the audience here and share your thoughts. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Hakim. I have just tuned in. I didn't hear all that both of you said. Thank you, Margaret, and all those who are listening. Yes, the release of our brother Kalisto today, it's really good news. It was a pleasant surprise, very, very pleasant surprise. But it kind of just made me, have this, like there is a sort of, I don't know, sweet or a type of food that you put in your mouth and it tastes sweet and then suddenly it tastes bitter as well. So it's a bittersweet sort of feeling that I have got. I don't know whether many people share with me. There are some people who are very, very angry, Equatorians who are very, very angry. And their anger is now showing more and more, and they are more outspoken. Because all this time, we have been simmering, we have been really, really unhappy. In case some people think that, because Equatorians are coward, they are just cowering behind some stones, hiding under, stones or caves or whatever. But we are extremely, extremely angry for the treatment that has happened to Kalisto. It has been since March. He was caught from his house, actually kidnapped by unknown sort of like gunmen. And these are the people who are killing people in Juba, who are terrorizing people in Juba. And they want to, it was like a show of force, but it's just bullying people, because if you take away their guns from them, they will run like, like little dogs with their tails between their legs. So what they are good at is just bullying people. It's a government that has got no mandate, that has got a government that is not a legal government. It's a fake sort of government. We don't have a government. We just have a group of criminals that have found themselves in a position of, being in charge. It's like putting thieves, to guard a sort of like treasure. And of course, they will help themselves whenever they feel like, to whatever treasury have put in their custody. And this is exactly what it is. Maulana Kalisto, what he did was he spoke for the South Sudanese. It's not only for Equatorians. He has been stating the fact that there is something that's wrong, that's going on. And he himself, he said that part of the land that has been grabbed was grabbed by one of those people who are in charge, pretending to be in charge in the government. So Salva Kiir himself, he possesses a lot of land in Equatoria that doesn't belong to him. He has taken it illegally, together with other people like Nyandeng and all these people. They just sort of like, they go and they grab land, and this is what they want to do. And they do not want anybody to speak about it. So not only that, they want also their own family and people from their villages to come and just grab land and push Equatorians away from their land. These people have got their own places. They have all came and just sat down in Equatoria, and this is their plan. They want to be Equatorians. They want to be Equatorians. This is all that's to it, because these people have got vast fertile land. بلد بتاع جنجي هو ذاك فوق أي حاجة. You can plant. When we were young, because my dad used to work as a medical assistant, so we used to travel in places like Rumbek, Raja, and all this. I can't remember because, of course, I was like a toddler at that time. But when I reached the age of about 6 or 7, we went. My dad was stationed in Rumbek, and I remember Rumbek used to be a very fertile land. It has got a lot of stuff in it. Has got fruits, the mango trees, just mango galore. I remember our house was full of mango trees, different types.
Hello.
And these people, I don't know whether they were cultivating. Of course, I was young. I can't remember. But they have got a lot of things in their land. Why don't they cultivate their land and stay in their land instead of all coming to Equatoria? What do they want from us? And then when we speak the truth, then they put us in prison, they beat us up, they kill us. I have looked very carefully and very closely at those pictures that has been released about Maulana Kalisto, and I have seen that, there is a lot of pain in his face. There is a lot of, you can tell that he's somebody who has endured a lot. Just to be more than 5 months in custody of these horrible, terrible people. It's just a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And we want to know everything that they have done to him from day one up till today. The fact that they captured him without any explanation, they denied it throughout, and now they have released him also without any explanation. So what we want is, first of all, somebody who has been like that, captured by criminals, unknown gunmen, I would say, captured by unknown gunmen. And unknown gunmen is part of the SSPDF, and they are the ones who are killing people, raping women, raping men, doing bad things in Juba, and stealing people's possessions. These are the ones who have captured Kalisto, and these are the so-called national security. They are nothing but a group of thugs I have got no words to describe them. So these are the people who are causing all the mayhem in Juba. They have been given guns. They have been given mandate to go and just arrest people without any charges, without any question. Throw them in blue house, abuse them day and night, and kill them, basically. So, this is what the mafia does. This is exactly what the mafia does. And who is going to vote for them? They want to be legal. They said they want to be legal. Even if people vote for them, if this is their behavior, then how can they justify the fact that they are a legal government? I just cannot understand how they are thinking. There are people who have got no brains. This is all what I can say. And now all the wrath and the anger is coming out. And as somebody has put it in a video, they say, if it's a matter of dying, all of us can die. People will say to me, oh, you will be killed. Well, if my time comes, it will come. But at least when I am killed, when I die, I know that I have spoken the truth. This is the main thing. I am not going to be like a coward, just keeping quiet and helping these people to do what they are doing. Because I'm sure the things which we are saying here in Clubhouse is being registered by them. Because they are mujrimin, so they know and they listen. They keep listening. And I'm sure they secretly tape us and everything. But that's what it is. The good thing about Clubhouse. And they can listen to any replays or anything like that. Let them listen to it. Because this message is to them. Is for them. So they are holding the whole of South Sudan, as victims, as hostages, and they are not providing anything, and they are just sitting there doing nothing except harming the country more and more and more and more. But what I can say is that I want to thank Kalisto, Maulana Kalisto, for what he did. He has spoken up as a man, as a gentleman, as a brother, as a son of Equatoria, as a husband, as a brother to all of us. We are very proud of him. And as our son, we are very, very extremely proud of him. And now nobody can say anything because the sufferings he has endured for the whole of South Sudanese. Because when he has spoken, it's not only for Equatoria, as I said earlier, it's for the whole of South Sudan. This should encourage anybody in South Sudan who is suffering the same sort of suffering that the Equatorians are suffering under this horrible, horrible regime. Because the same thing is happening in Upper Nile. Some tribes are really dealt with badly. The same problem is happening in Bahr al-Ghazal as well. We have seen Western Bahr al-Ghazal, they are suffering. And now, this government, they are facing, a war. And I hope that they will be, because they said that they are men. This is why they are abusing other men in Blue House. Now, there are men also coming to them from across the border. Let us see how they are going to behave. Let us see if they can protect themselves from the RSF. Let us see if they are going to do that. But our brother Kalisto has got to be taken out of the country to be properly checked. And we want, honest report about his health. And then we will see. because they poison people and then they send them out. 2-3 months down the line, you hear that the person has died. We are not going to tolerate this. This is something which the Equatorians have got to think about. And from now onwards, nobody's going to keep quiet. From now onwards, we have got to plan exactly how to deal with this government. Thank you very much, Dr. Hakim, and my sister Akulia, and Daniel, who is listening as well. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much, Sandawia. We are really grateful for this opportunity to address specifically Equatorians, but also people who live in that territory called South Sudan. I spoke earlier, and we're going to load this onto YouTube so that other people can listen to it, including international audiences. The time has come to draw a line in the sand. There's no more standing on the fence, and this is specifically a clarion call to Equatoria and anybody of goodwill. Anyone who thinks something is wrong in that land called South Sudan is welcome to collaborate with us. But what is non-negotiable now is the destruction of Equatoria and the silencing of voices of Equatoria. We are drawing a line in the sand. And as we have repeatedly said, there's no government. There's absolutely no government. And I said earlier that the more we refer to that criminal cartel, that dysfunctional, satanic criminal cartel as a government, the more we give it oxygen. People need to stop referring to that satanic cartel. Yes, satanic. And you can sue me in the laws of heaven. I will stand before God and call you a criminal cartel. Satanic. So we really have to stop, like this business of referring to Kiir as the president and a government is just giving him oxygen. A proper government, a proper state protects its people, its citizens. It gives people freedom. There's no such thing there. Even if you have something good to say about the so-called government, we all know that Kalisto worked, in that government as a mayor. He did work. He served that government. Even at some point, he referred to Kiir as his president. So what happened? So if they can do something like that to Kalisto, what will they do to people that are not even interested, or people that don't regard that cartel as a government? So there's no more standing on the fence. You have to take a side. It's no laughing matter now. You cannot be on the fence. You are either on the side of good, on the side of God, or you're on the side of Satan. I'm not scared to name it like it is. Because when you do the things that you did to Kalisto, you're a Satanist. You are not of God. You don't have the Spirit of God in you. You're a Satanist. And that's how you need to be dealt with now. There's no state, there's nothing. And no due process, because there's no state, there's no law, it's a lawless jungle, there's no due process. You can't just kidnap someone and keep them for a few months and then release them without an explanation. It's not acceptable. That's not how you do business in a state. That's not how you do business in a functioning state. That's why I'm saying there's no state, there's no government. And Kiir himself should have come forward a long time ago. He did not. And that's a reason to conclude that he was actually part of the kidnappers. He probably sanctioned it even. Okay? So I am saying that Kiir sanctioned that kidnapping. because he could have come forward. He is the king. He rules that place as a king. He could have come forward and said, release him. He didn't on purpose. It was by design. But what I want to tell people is that you will never, ever, ever silence Equatoria. You will not silence Equatorians just because they don't have the arms that the thugs have doesn't mean that they've accepted defeat. You can't silence them. And this is a line now in the sand, and this is a spiritual war. This is a war between Satan and God. So people need to pick a side. You cannot be neutral about a war between Satan and God. And you cannot, the people who think they can do business with Satan, you are in for a rude awakening, okay? Like you cannot serve in a satanic system and think it's gonna be okay. It's just a matter of time before they come up to you and destroy you. That's why you cannot make a deal with Satan, okay? So this is going to be a duel between good and evil. It's going to be a Baal duel, an Elijah duel against the prophets of Baal. This is what this is now. And Equatorians, you have to wake up. And people, this is an open forum. It's being recorded and it's going to be on YouTube. And you can record us as much as you want. It's not going to make us go away. Because that place is disintegrated anyway. It's just a matter of time before it collapses completely. Then what are you going to do? And I've said it over and over again. If that place explodes, you're going to run into the bushes of Equatoria, and there's going to be nobody's going to help you navigate the forests of Equatoria if you're part of the criminal cartel. So this is really just putting you on notice. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Akolia. Let me just play this music maybe for the last time. Yeah.
I don't know if the room is recorded.
Is it not?
No.
Okay. I guess, but it's on Zoom anyway, so we will not lose. Okay. Yeah, we will not lose much. Yeah, I just wanted to play this song, and then we can conclude the room.
As mighty flow, where the brave and fearless hearts grow. Victoria, oh, Victoria, rise aloft and claim your rightful place, break free from the chains. That's why. Like the silence, spirits unbroken. Your faith hesitate. Your own faith. Equatorial, oh, equatorial. It's now. Take charge and show them how. Your bravery and strength, they find a future starting today. Take charge and show them strength, pay way for a bright future starting today.
The bravery and strength will pave the way for a brighter future. That is what the song says. And I think this is a awakening call to all Equatorians to pay attention. No more time to stand on the fence. No more time to be quiet about the atrocities, the abuses, and um, atrocities against our people and the abuses against their human rights. So we want to mark this day today because Kalisto has been released from that infamous National Security Service premises. And it's just also a reminder to Equatorians that freedom is not free. We've seen Brother Kalisto Ladu making a sacrifice, and his voice was shut down. He was silenced and incarcerated for over 3 to 4 months now until being released today. So that's just a small part of his contribution to the bigger picture. Every Equatorian should consider what they would want to bring to the table, what they can contribute, like what Kalisto did, so that all of us collectively will have the desired impact to free ourselves from oppression, to make our own fate, and to make a brighter future for Equatoria and pave the way for a brighter future for Equatoria. So I think with those words, I want to thank you for listening, for being part of this house here today, this room here today. And before we close, I just want to give a chance to Zandawiya and to Alma, Margaret, to give their final words, and then we can call it a day. Thank you. Alma, it's your turn. Thanks.
Sorry, please can Margaret go ahead and then I will come after her.
Okay, Akulia, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, I really just want to reiterate again that the line has already been drawn in the sand. You really cannot just be oppressing people and think it's okay. Just because they are quiet doesn't mean that they've accepted defeat. In fact, I would be very, very wary of what is going to happen now, because, like I said earlier, when you silence people, they don't crawl away. They will be plotting, but you won't know. In fact, it's a benefit to have people like Kalisto and us, even like people who verbalize things, people who talk out loud, then you know what's going on in people's heads, and you can do something about it. So don't even be worried about people like us, who are labeled as noisy and troublemakers. Don't be more troubled, by someone like Kalisto, who tried to convey, a collective message, but he was kidnapped, and silenced. And I said earlier that Kalisto is not the only one. There's more people, and we're just very vocal people, but there's a lot more people that are not vocal, and you're not gonna know what hit you because they're not saying anything, and they're plotting. You won't even know who is plotting because for us we're very loud. We tell you what's going on in our minds. We tell you like it is, and then we give you an opportunity to change. But there's a lot more Kalistos who are not going to come forward now. You lost an ally in Kalisto. He served in your so-called government as a mayor, and he was an ally. He was truly trying to make things work, but you you've lost him, by brutalizing him and kidnapping him, and sustaining that lawless cartel, that satanic system, and so you opened a can of worms. Like you have declared war against Equatoria and the other parts of South Sudan. This has been going on for so long. There'll come a time when people are just going to say enough is enough. I think we've reached that point now. We've reached that crossroads, and the loud ones like us will tell you what's going to happen, but the quiet ones will not. They'll come from the back and hit you. You won't know where. And like I said, that place is going to explode anyways. It's just a matter of time. And when it explodes, you're going to run into the bushes of Equatoria, and the same Equatorians that you're mistreating now are the ones who are going to help you navigate those forests of Equatoria, because everybody's just converging in Juba as if it's the only place in South Sudan where people can live. So it's going to explode, and moderate voices like Kalisto's would have helped out, but now you've stifled those voices too, and you have basically brutalized him to a point where he might actually think twice about participating. I want to thank Kalisto again for sticking his neck out, and your neck is not in vain. Like the brutality that you've suffered is not in vain. And I want to thank Kalisto's family again, and all the advocates and activists who were very vocal, and enabled Kalisto to be released. So we are going to do something about this, but like I said, don't look our way because we're very vocal. There's more people that are not going to come forward. They'll just hit you in the head. That's my final message, and it's my clarion call to Equatorians as well to say, do not sit on the fence now. Otherwise, you're going to be destroyed while you're watching. So you need to act now. You need to defend yourselves because there's no government, there's no state. You're on your own, and you have to put those thugs on notice. You have to come up with a protection force and protect yourselves. It's not a fighting force, it's a protection force to protect yourself, to defend yourselves from criminals, because otherwise they're going to finish you off, and that's not acceptable. So I want to thank everybody who is going to be listening later on. This recording is going to be on YouTube. We didn't record it on Clubhouse, but it's going to be on YouTube. So we welcome you to listen to it and let people know about it. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you, Aquilia. Welcome, Daniel. You found a little bit of time to share a few thoughts, so you're welcome. And then we'll move to to Zandawia later. Welcome, Daniel.
Yes, thank you, Hakim, and thank you, Zandawia, Margaret, and those who are listening, and those who have been here before, and those who will be listening to this recording later. First of all, I want to say back when former Mayor Kalisto was arrested, I think we came out here from the voice of the Equatoria People's Alliance. I think we came on 2 occasions to talk about this, and we urged for his release. And today, I think, is a victory for people like us, the Equatorial People's Alliance, who come out really clearly to talk about their constituency and about how the situation in South Sudan is supposed to be approached. That is number 1. And number 2, Kalisto is one of those who actually came out and spoke straight talk to the authorities about the situation of land grabbing, about the lack of recognition of historical contributions from all regions of South Sudan, including Equatoria. And he talked about land grabbing for sure, and he talked about people using their authority, like generals in the army, and people using their tribal influence and tribal force to grab lands from other communities, and especially the communities surrounding Juba, and even in the Juba city itself. So it is really a victory for those voices, and it's a victory for Mayor Kalisto, because he came out boldly, like John the Baptist in the wilderness, really, at the time when powerful people, really, like the Vice President from Equatoria, Dr. James Wani, and so-called powerful politicians like Dr. Lomuro and many others were caving in for the wrongs that are being committed in the region, and for the atrocities that are being committed in the region in Kajukeji, in Bagui, in Lokeliri, and all these places. He came out and spoke boldly about those atrocities and about these land grabbings, together with those of Archbishop Santo Lako. So I think it is a great breakthrough, really, in the history of South Sudan. And I think this release, to me personally, is a response to people like General Garang Mabil, who had lately came and was actually, if you look at his speech there during that funeral and the subsequent interview that he gave to Radio, not to Radio Tamazut, but he gave it to that Ngor Mading, who interviewed him, and in that program, Saving South Sudan or something like that. So he is an advocate of the proposition that the land belongs to the government, and that is a pretext actually for land grabbing, actually. So Kalisto's release today is a response to that. If there are people who are trying to promote that policy of grabbing people's lands and actually distorting the constitution of South Sudan for their own advantage, then today's response is a victory to that. And we really want to congratulate Kalisto for his bold stance, and we want to congratulate the lawyers that stood with his case. Several months ago, my aunt called me from Juba, and she told me that Kalisto had been released, and I haven't quite believed her at the time. And I asked her and said, why do you say that? She said, well, because if Kalisto is not released, that will cause really a big uproar. And she was right, because if any harm were to happen to Kalisto, even though the situation seems to be quiet and the people seems to be quiet, but I think whether in the medium term or in the long term, people would have actually said enough is enough. So today we are all glad to hear that he is released. People like in the Equatorial People Alliance and the people who really want the ideals of our forefathers to be realized in South Sudan would really shout for victory, because this is a big milestone in the history of the modern South Sudan, the modern region of Equatoria especially. So we really want to say congratulations. And then it is also a call. It is an urgent call for the rest of the people who are, like some of you have expressed, are standing by the fence, those who are not sure, those who are doubting that, speaking out might land you into troubles. But I think if there is anything Kalisto has said, he has set a precedence that, you have to talk to the authorities no matter what. Because if you don't speak up, then the waters that these people are testing will actually start swimming in those waters of injustices and of land appropriation or misappropriation and land grabbing and all these things. So it's a victory there. And it should not really be a surprise to people in Equatoria and people in South Sudan, because our forefathers, our ancestors, and even we ourselves, we have gone out there for this purpose, to advocate for justice, to advocate for good governance for our region and for the country of South Sudan, and for realization of development, freedom of speech, freedom of association, and all the freedoms that our people had gone out there to fight for, and to liberate our lands actually from the grip of the Jalaba at the time. And now we should just continue and just make these efforts to make sure that these dreams are not forgotten. The final point that I want to end with here is that let's keep doing what we are doing. These ideas of the union state, even though it is sounding like a distant or a far-fetched dream, one day they will be realized. The ideals in which our people, the goals in which our people went out to fight in 1955 to 1972, and the people who have struggled all along, those goals and those ideals will be realized. Even though we feel like they are a distant dream, they will be realized. And even the facts that the situation is at this dire moment, like the collapsing economic situation, all of these things will be rectified, will be corrected when we stand together. So we just have to be hopeful. We need to keep working, and we trust that one day we will live in a situation where we had actually dreamt about, that there will be a justice in our country, there will be a fair representation of all people, there will be a freedom of speech, there will be freedom of association, there will be good governance, and all people will be represented in a fair way in which we will live like the rest of the people. At the moment, our people, especially in South Sudan, like that. Our people in Equatoria don't live like that. Their dream seems to be like a distant dream that cannot be realized. But we just need to continue to speak. And the final point is that the things that we say here in this media, whether it is in Facebook or in Clubhouse, people, the authorities in Juba are listening. Our people, the downtrodden people, are listening. Even our Creator God is listening. Our people, our ancestors who have died, they are listening to this, even though they are not with us here, but they are listening, because we are talking on their behalf. We are fighting on their behalf. So therefore, we just need to keep doing what we need to do, and in the end of the day, things will change. So thank you for this time, and we hope to continue in the near future. Back to you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel, for your words of encouragement and messages to our people, giving them hope, raising our expectations that we are not to be put down, no matter how oppressive the system is, no matter the guns that they have in their hands. We will triumph. Our people will triumph in the end. So we hope that this message will get to all Equatorians, and those who receive the message will also become the ambassadors to spread the word, to rally our troops so that we stand together and resist oppression. Thank you once more, Daniel. Finally, Akulia, Zandawiya, you're welcome to have the mic and say your final remarks, and then we can call it a day. This was really just meant to be a very short, brief message to our people on the occasion of release of Kalisto Ladu, but we will have a proper, befitting discussion on room sometime when we revisit this, because like the song was saying, that your strength and courage will pave the way for a better Equatoria. So this is just the beginning. We haven't exhausted everything, but we're just, carrying on doing what we do best to get our message across to our people. So thank you. Welcome, Alma.
Thank you, Dr. Hakim. And I'd like to thank everybody who's listening here, including our lovely people here on the podium. Thank you, Daniel and Margaret, for what you have said. You said it correctly. I totally agree with you. Of course, Dr. Hakim has also given us a very clear message about the release of Maulana Kalisto today. Yes, as I said before, it's a mixed feeling, because we feel that we really have been, our brother Kalisto has been badly treated. He just said what he wanted to say, and it's a free country. We are not in prison or anything like that. He said something which is the truth, and based on that, the government, which is a tribal government, a government with a hidden agenda, which is just to come and invade Equatoria and kill all the Equatorians. This is basically what it is, in a nutshell. And according to Dr. Carol Berger's thesis, which she has written after a long research, she has come to the conclusion that, these people are using the strategy of killing, displacing people, especially in Equatoria or in the non-Dinka areas, so that they will create a Dinka state. يعني ناس قاعدين يستعملوا قوة وعضل، عضلات وشنو وقتل وإجرام عشان يكونوا a gang state. دارين يتخيلوا يا جماعة في الدنيا ده في حصل حاجة زي ده. يعني الفكرة فكرة جهنمية. فكرة زي ده إلا بيطلع من نار الجهنم إلا من الشيطان. عشان كده حسا جنوب السودان اتلخبط من أوله لآخره. وما بس إيكواتوريا، هم دايرين يلخبطوا إيكواتوريا وبس، يجي يسكنوا كله في إيكواتوريا وبلدهم يكون دايما يكون فيه بيس وشنو. بالعكس، هم لما بدوا يعملوا مشاكل ده في إيكواتوريا لأنه بقى بيسروا بالأسلحة وبيعملوا يهو الفوضى بتاعتهم في بلدهم ذاته في أراضيهم. بقى أراضيهم أكعب أرض في جنوب السودان. الأراضي ما فوقوا أي سلام، الأراضي فوقوا قتل كل يوم. إحنا بنسمع طوالي أخبار إنه في قتل وفي شنو وفي ضرب. ليه؟ لأنه أي زول هناك عنده سلاح، والسلاح ده ما جاي من محل تاني، جاي من الحكومة ذاتها. فالحكومة قاعد يصرف لهم أسلحة ده عشان شنو؟ عشان يقتلوا الاستوائيين، يقتلوا الناس من وسط البحر الغزال، يقتلوا نوير، يقتلوا ناس تانيين. لكن في النهاية هم بيقوا يقتلوا نفسهم. شفتوا كيف؟ يعني شنو بيقول؟ من حفر حفرة لأخيه وقع فيه. When you dig a hole for your neighbor, you will be the one to fall in it. And this is exactly what has happened to them. And now some of the Gen Council of Elders themselves, they are in tears. Why? Because all their dreams have been shattered. The dream of a Dinka nation ده خلاص انتهى. الحلم ده منتهي. ما في أي حاجة تاني. It has gone. It's gone. لأنه ما ممكن إنسان يخلق دولة بقتل، يخلق دولة بالتشتت بتاعت ناس، يخلق له دولة بسرقة. ما ممكن. You cannot. ولأنه ده ماشي عكس القوانين الربانية. ربنا قال لنا لما خلقنا في الدنيا ده، قال لنا لا تقتل، لا تسرق، لا تزني، لا تشتهي مال غيرك، لا تشتهي امرأة غيرك. فالناس دي كسروا القوانين كلها بتاعت 10 commandments. They have broken it all. Every single law بتاعت ربنا هم كسروا عشان كده. So and they think that they can build their state. والله ده حسا حلم بقى سراب بس. It's a mirage. حسا ده هم بس زي زول في الصحراء يشوف محل هناك يقول فوقه مويه، لكن ما فيه مويه. يجري لغاية يوصل محل داك يكون ما في أي شيء. This is exactly what is happening with them. This arbitrary arrest بتاع Kalisto ده, it is part of this ijram, criminality, in order to form their own state. Because Kalisto is now working against their plan. The plan of the Dinka is to come and take over land that does not belong to them. جهرا كده. So this is what is happening. Because Kalisto has voiced, he is of course a leader in his community, but at the same time, all of them are there in Juba so they can listen. He is, without any doubt, he's a leader there in Juba, whether they like it or not. He's a leader in Juba, and that land belongs to his fathers and grandfathers. So he has got the right to speak about it. يعني دنكاوي يقوم لنا من بحر الغزال يجي لنا في استوائية ويقول لناس ما يتكلموا في أرض بتاعته. It's just impossible. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So even if they are in government, that doesn't mean that they automatically own the land. The government cannot own the land. ما في حاجة زي ده في الدنيا ده كله. ما حصل. The land belongs to the community. حتى عندنا هنا في UK الأراضي ده معظم الأراضي are private land. بيقول لك this is private land. الأراضي الحكومة ده يعني أراضي معين معروف، وبعدين الحكومة مش بتجي تقلع، لا، الحكومة بتشتري من these private land owners. And this is what is going on. والشيرة ده بشنو؟ بقوانين. بيجيبوا lawyers from both sides. They sit down and then they negotiate and they ask people around. يعني حاسة أنا إن شاء الله لو الليلة أنا عندي أرض بتاعي أهو، أنا مشتريه، إحنا مشتريين الأرض اللي بيتنا مبني فوقه ده، لكن أنا حاسة لو دايرة أمد لي أوضة بس، أمده إن شاء الله مترين كده، أنا لازم أخذ إذن من الناس الجنبي. هل هم مبسوطين؟ هل it's going to overlook their property and all these things؟ يعني ما ممكن إنسان يتصرف بس براسه كده، لازم يكون في قوانين. عشان كده الدول دي ماشية كويس زي ما هي ماشية، لكن هم الناس ديل جايين لنا من المراح ودايرين يجيبوا لنا قوانين بتاعهم بتاعت أبقار ده، يجيبوا لنا في جوجوبا، والكلام ده ما بينفع. الكلام ده ما بينفع، وعشان كده حاسة هم اللي لقوا نفسهم في تعب. هم ذاتهم ده اللي عاملين نفسهم هم نياوسيا جوبا. Juba does not belong to them. Juba belongs to the people who were originally there before this Jenge came there. They have got to put it in their heads. اللي هم Equatorians, whether they والله لو طلعوا فوق في السماء ونزلوا تحت، الأرض ده أرض بتاعت Equatorians. مش يجي يقول لنا قال يجيبوا جيش بتاعت يوغندا يطردوا الناس شنو؟ الناس ديل ذاته عندهم جنسيات مزدوجة، dual citizenship. We are the same people. يعني في الحدود بتاعت نومولي ده هتلقى منه، هتلقى مادي هناك وأجولي بهناك، هتلقى لك دنكاوي. they came هم جو بقوة وما دارين يقعدوا كمان بتهذيب وبأدب. لما انت تمشي في كجي هناك انت بتلقى منه، بتلقى لك دنكاوي في دنكا هناك في كجي، ما هم جايين بقوة. فما ممكن يعني ناس مخهم بسيط، مخهم ما في، يفتكروا انه هم they can replace Equatorians, and it is just a matter of time. Things are changing. Things are going to change. It's just a matter of time. One day they will regret the things which they are doing now. شوفوا في أمريكا هنا مشاكل اللي قاعد يحصل كان في أمريكا بتاعت ناس سود مع ناس بيض شنو. It's because of the mistakes of these white people who brought the slaves from Africa. جابوهم عشان يخدموا, and they thought that these slaves are going to be like that from generation to generation. Look now. Obama became the president of the United States. Who would have believed it? Who would have believed it? That's why let them think twice about what they are doing. أن إحنا مبسوطين إنه مولانا فكوا, لكن إحنا زعلانين لأنه مسكوه مدة كم؟ من شهر 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 6 شهور, ماسكينه 6 شهور بدون أي ذنب. حاولوا يلفقوا فوق تهم كتير جدا جدا وما قدروا, because they are not that smart even. ما ممكن بس زول يلفق تهمة فوق زول بدون أدلة. They did some photoshop شنو بصور بتاعه ما تعرف شنو, لكن it went to nothing. Everybody knew إنه الصور دي مدبلجة, يعني سذاجة بشكل عجيب. It makes you even feel embarrassed. Now نحن دلوقتي and إحنا رغم إنه and إحنا we are relieved. I will say the word relief إن هو فعلا فكوه من السجن لكن فياته حالة. This is now the main thing which we want to know. مش يقول قال أن إحنا فكيناه وخلاص وشنو. No. You kept him there for 6 bloody months. 6 months. الشهر الواحد فوقه كم يوم كم ساعة. اليوم الواحد فوقه هنا كم ساعة. والشهر الواحد فوقه كم يوم. 30 days or 31 days. في الزمن ده كله what were they doing with him or to him? What were they doing? They will have to be responsible. Responsibility أول حاجة بيمشي لسلفا كير. Salva Kiir is the one who is the culprit. And then this مجرمين بتاعهم بتاعت ينايدل في NSS. ناس بتاعت national security they are a tribal gang. And people, there are so many people who are there in Blue House being tortured for nothing. Many Equatorians are there. Many people from Western Bahar al-Ghazal and many Nuer and Shuluk and all the other tribes, non-Dinka. And there are some Dinka, few of them, very few. So there are all the 64 tribes are there being tortured for nothing. Some of them are already dead. Kalisto, we are lucky with the fact that because of the noise, Kalisto was able to be released. It's due to panic. They panicked and released him. They didn't want to release him. So we have got to know. Keeping him for 6 months, now we'll give them 6 years. If anything happens to Kalisto within 6 more years, Wallahi lazim, they will have to pay for it. They will have to pay for it. لأنه هم لازم يطلعوا لنا الذنب اللي هم دخلوا فوق كاليستو ده. لازم هم يطلعوا. We are not going to keep quiet anymore. وبعدين في ناس تانيين جوا في السجن ده. We need to know who is there. And we need to say that enough is enough. خليهم يطلعوا ناس ديل. So I will stop here. And thank you very much for listening.
Well, thank you, Alma. Appreciate your words and also the strong message to this regime that is incarcerating our people, that is oppressing our people, and not allowing us, our people, space to be themselves, to do and be free and do whatever they want to do for themselves and for their people and for their country. Once more, I want to thank many of our people here in the room who have come and joined us to mark this day. And we'll have more to share over the coming days. Right now, we just want to say thank you. Thank you for your concern, for being with us here and supporting, supporting the voices of, people who are calling for freedom, for Kalisto and many others who are incarcerated in the National Security Services, this infamous organization that is operating outside of the rule of law. Once more, I just want to wish everybody the best and God blessings to you all and your families. We've come to the end of this room, and I'll just be playing the song I played earlier to bring it to the end, and then we will close the room. So thank you. God bless you all. May you stay in peace. Thank you.
The recording will be on YouTube. So if you missed, you can listen to it there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's right. Yeah.
How's mighty flow, where the brave and fearless hearts grow. Equatoria, oh Equatoria, rise up and claim your rightful place, break free from the chain. Equatoria, Equatoria, strong, your courage and bravery can't be wrong. Take charge of your destiny, don't hesitate, free yourself from oppression, it's your own fate. Mountain, so that is why your people have suffered, but won't be denied. Their voices silenced, but spirits unbroken. Equatoria, oh Equatoria, your time has awoken. Equatoria, Equatoria, strong, your courage, of your destiny. Courage and bravery, take charge of your destiny. Don't hesitate, free yourself from oppression. Your own face. Equatoria, oh Equatoria, time is now. So take charge and show them how. Your bravery and strength will pave the way for a brighter future starting today. It's your own face. It's your own strength. Rise up, take control. Equatoria, oh Equatoria, the time is now. Rise up, take charge and show them how. Your bravery and strength will pave the way for a brighter future starting today.
Your bravery and strength will pave the way for your future starting today. That is the message to all Equatorians. I hope you get that message. I hope you share it beyond this circle of friends here to all of Equatorians in diaspora and back home. And God bless you all. And God bless Equatoria. Thank you.